Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton movie, long awaited. 19-year-old Alice returns to the land which has haunted her dreams, and she finds that crucially she doesn't remember it, and all the things that happen sort of in Alice in Wonderland, like you have to drink the potion, you have to eat the cake, you have to go through the thing. Voices keep saying, why doesn't she remember? She ends up in Wonderland, which she kind of vaguely has a memory of, but of course it's not Wonderland, it's Underland, and she has returned to it, but she's forgotten it, and she meets all the old characters who she kind of remembers, but she doesn't remember, but she sort of does, including the cat. Here's a clip.
It looks like you ran afoul of something with wicked claws.
But I'm still dreaming.
What did that to you?
Banner or bandit.
The bandersnatch? Well, I'd better have a look.
What are you doing?
It needs to be purified by someone with evaporating skills, or it will fester and putrefy.
I'd rather you didn't. I'll be fine as soon as I wake up.
At least let me bind it for you. What do you call yourself?
Alice.
The Alice?
There's been some debate about that.
I never get involved in politics.
So,
would that be Stephen Fry?
It would be.
Hello, Stephen.
And lots of other famous people in the cast. Helena Bonham Carter, obviously, as the Red Queen.
How did she get the job?
I have no idea. Actually, because she's brilliant, except for the fact that she plays the Red Queen. But she plays it pretty much, and I'm not the first person to say this, as Miranda Richardson doing Queenie out of Blackadder. It's very odd how, because people have talked, for example, about the fact that the Anne Hathaway character, the White Queen, it was theoretically inspired by Nigella Lawson, because Tim Burton in an interview in America said, "Oh, there's this woman on television, and she's great, but she also has this kind of glint that's sort of strange, and it's Nigella Lawson." Which fine, yes, but on the other hand, there is definitely the Queenie character from Blackadder.
Unusual TV reference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a reference. I think it's a straight lift, actually. And Crispin Glover and Matt Lucas and Michael Sheen and Alan Rickman and Barbara Streisand, basically star-studded cast. Now, I went in quite enthusiastic because I'm a very big Tim Burton fan. I quite like the idea of you sort of return to the material. I mean, the character has grown up a little bit, but has sort of got a memory of the stuff that's happened before, but sort of doesn't. And so there's that kind of, through a glass darkly. It sounded to me like a very interesting idea. I have to say, in the end, it ended up like watching a load of bits of Tim Burton stuff which didn't come together in the way that it ought to have done. And the perfect image for this for me was at one point when they're walking through some woods, and there are trees, and all the trees have got those kind of strange, curly, the way in which Tim Burton branches curl around on themselves like somebody with a wax moustache. It's a very particular form of curling that Tim Burton designed.
I want one of those moustaches.
Yeah, but for
next week.
But fine, you have one of them, and I'll have the handlebar one. You know what I mean? And so all the way through, you think the design is very Burton-esque, and yet it doesn't have this. I mean, for a start, it doesn't have the substance of something like Edward Scissorhands. There's at the centre of it, you have this performance by Johnny Depp, who's kind of doing the Mad Hatter character in a way, two different accents. One of them sort of lisping British, one of them sort of broadly Shrek-like Scottish, and doing very much what he did with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, with the Willy Wonka character, of playing it, in this kind of very pastiche-y, overwrought way that's kind of all right, but kind of doesn't quite work. And then you have the 3D issue that the whole film was shot against green screen and then retrofitted into 3D, which is something you do, afterwards in the computer. And quite apart from my ongoing problem with 3D, which I remain more convinced about.
You must tell us more about that.
I must tell you more about it, but at the risk of boring everybody.
I'm quite new to that.
Let me just say...
No, don't.
No. Let me just say, if you're going to see it, go see it in 2D, because the 3D doesn't add anything. It does look like it's kind of bolt-on. It doesn't... actually, funnily enough, the thing that some people have said about it is, well, the thing that's really good about the 3D is you don't notice it's in 3D. You go, yeah, well, then in that case, don't do it in 3D. It's a very strangely disappointing movie because all the constituent elements are interesting. So I kept thinking, I wonder what, if you were if you're a young viewer, somebody looking for, you'd seen versions of Alice before, would this have more resonance than it had for me? I mean, I think in the end, 12-year-old kids will probably quite enjoy it. It's a PG certificate movie, but it's just, it does not hang together for all its visual artistry, for all its invention, for all the fact that I like Tim Burton and I want to like the movie more. It looks like a holding pattern movie. It looks like the movie that you make between projects that you actually really wanted to do. Despite how much Tim Burton has talked about how much he wanted to do Alice, it didn't look like a fully fledged movie. It looked like was a venture that Tim Burton happened to have helmed, but it didn't look like an organic Tim Burton project to me. And in the end, it disappointed me.